My name is Taryn McKinney, and I'm an investigative researcher at the Union of Concerned Scientists. The United States is facing a crisis. In the last few years, many elected leaders have attacked voting rights, cast doubt on free and fair elections, and served private interests over the public good. These assaults are bad for everyone, but they hurt Black people, low-income folks, Indigenous communities, and other voters of color most of all. To pull American democracy back from the brink, we must improve our laws and policies. 4 laws will, if passed, set us on the right track. The For the People Act. Today, the rules around federal elections vary from state to state. This means that how you can vote depends on your zip code and your demographics instead of your right to vote. This isn't fair, but we can change it. The For the People Act would set baseline rules for ballot access everywhere. It would also require automatic voter registration, expand early and mail-in voting, prevent gerrymandering, strike down voter ID laws, and pre-register teenagers so they can vote when they turn 18. The law would also require greater transparency in campaign financing and revamp ethics requirements for our representatives. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. In 1965, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, one of the nation's most powerful civil rights laws. But in 2013, the Supreme Court gutted the law, making it easier for states to restrict voting rights. Let's reverse this damage with the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, named after the late civil rights activist and former House Representative John Lewis. The law would restore the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and let federal courts scrutinize a broader array of potentially discriminatory voting laws. The Fair Representation Act. As they are now, elections aren't great for voters. Because only one party can represent people in single-seat districts, millions of Americans are represented by leaders they oppose. We can fix this. The Fair Representation Act would give big districts several representatives so that more voters are heard in government. The law would also establish ranked choice voting, which means that if a voter's top candidate loses, their vote would go to their second choice. The law would work to curb gerrymandering, too, by requiring the independent redistricting commissions, not partisan lawmakers, draw district boundaries. The Washington, D.C. Admission Act. More than 700,000 people live in Washington, D.C. That's more people than live in Vermont or Wyoming. But while D.C. residents have the same responsibilities as residents of states, they have neither senators nor voting representatives. In other words, the residents of DC endure taxation without representation. The Washington, D.C. Admission Act would change this by making DC the 51st state. If Congress passed these 4 laws, they would transform American democracy, protect every citizen's right to vote, and hold our government accountable to its people. Of course, you're probably not a member of Congress, but that doesn't mean you can't help. First, you can study up. Learn all you can about how US democracy is under assault and why we need reform now more than ever. Then, spread the word. Second, talk to your lawmakers. The House has already worked to make these bills law, but the Senate is dragging its feet. Tell your senators today that their constituents want action on democracy reform, and that the public expects Congress to prioritize science-based electoral change. Third, join us. Together, we can build a democracy that protects the right to vote, holds our leaders accountable, and champions science as a tool for the public good.